Welcome back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is the owner of Ludvigson Chiropractic in Cherokee, Iowa. Today's guest is Dr. Kayla Ludvigson. Kayla, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Thanks, Quentin. I'm excited about this.
For sure, me too. So we're going to just jump right into things. Kayla, I've got 4 questions that I like to ask all my guests. I kind of call them the conversational warm-up questions. So the first question that I have for you is, how do you start your day? Do you have a specific morning routine or morning ritual that you like to stick to on most mornings?
It's so funny that you asked me this because it's something that I've been working on personally. This is a hard thing for me in my life, although I know all successful people have morning routines that are consistent, and I really struggle with that in my life. So I want to have a really good morning routine, but before COVID, I would say it was way better. 3 days a week was working out with my workout group. So I'd wake up at like 10 after 5, go into town and do a hot bodies class 3 mornings a week, and then I'd come home, shower, get ready for work, get my kids ready for school, and then one of my favorite things about my day was taking my kids to school because it was like 15 minutes of like us just visiting before our days start, and I loved that routine, and I've really been missing my pre-COVID morning routine. And then a lot of times I would do, like a protein shake when I got to work so I could just get a good boost of nutrition for my day. But post-COVID, my morning routine has struggled a little bit.
You're probably not the only one, right?
Right. I don't think so, but I'm ready to get back to that. So, yeah.
Cool. Now, in terms of kind of like the struggle of like having a morning routine, like what do you, for you personally, what do you think that is? Obviously, you're a mother of 3, correct?
Yeah.
So I know I've had a lot of moms on, and most of them have some sort of morning routine, but it's very it's very open-ended. It's not very structured, because that's the reality of being a parent, right?
Yes.
But maybe outside of that, is it hard for you to wake up? Is it just maybe hard for you to be really routine? Kind of what do you think it is outside of having the kids, which is the obvious?
Yeah. I think for me, I am just like, I'm a little bit of a night owl. And so when I work, I work all day, and like when I get going, I don't stop all day. So I sleep hard, and then the second I put my feet on the floor, I'm like going. For sure. So it's just hard for me to get that first little boost to get out of bed. But when I do, I'm like balls to the wall.
That's funny. I like that.
So I'm just like tired, I think.
That's
my problem. But once I get past like the initial wake up, I'm like, I'll go. For sure. So I think that's my issue. I need to go to bed earlier. That's where it starts.
But you know what though, Kayla, this is something, because I've done literally hundreds of these in-person podcast conversations, and again, like all but maybe like 5 to 7 people, don't really have a specific morning routine. But, something that I've taken away from all these conversations, and obviously all my wanderings and explorations in my life and meeting different people in different places, really I think what the most important thing is to find, whether that's a morning routine or not, is to really find what works best for you.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into the chiropractic work, and obviously I've done personal training and taught, in public school. And the thing is, I think, especially we know this coming from health, fitness, the wellness background, it's so important to have that individualization in terms of serving somebody else or taking care of somebody else. So I think it's okay if whatever, obviously, you've been successful, you're going to continue to be successful. So it's worked for you. So it's okay if that works for you. And I think that's something for the listeners, because we like to read all these self-help books, and like all these high-level performers have morning routines and this and that. Well, not everybody has to fit in that mold. If that doesn't work for you, it's okay, right? So I think for the listeners that are listening, it's like they look at you have your own business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a mom, all this stuff. You know what? If that works for you, Kayla, then it works for you, right?
Yeah. And I think consistency, though, is like, regardless of if it's the perfect morning routine or not, if you're getting up every day and hitting your goals, setting a goal in the first place, that's really, what matters. It's like you've got to be consistent.
For sure. Yep,
so
love
if
that.
you can do that, no matter what your morning routine looks like, you're going to be okay.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better. That's good. All right. So, Kayla, the second question in terms of the conversational warm-up questions, is there a favorite book or book that you like to gift often?
I like to read, but I don't have a lot of time, like you said, with being a mom.
Mm-hmm.
But the book that has kind of propelled me here in the last couple of years was Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis.
Yep.
I'm sure that so many people have, read that, and it's not like a novel idea, but it's, it really set the tone for a lot of the things that I already was doing in my life, but really like pushed it further for me in terms of gratitude, starting your morning with gratitude, and is another thing, being grateful for the things that you have all day.
For sure.
But also just setting goals, like I said, setting goals and being the best version of yourself and just trying for that just means so much in the world. So that book really just sent me, like, I was doing so many of the things that she was talking about, but it just really like lifted me up to know that there's other people, other women who are
absolutely
doing, running businesses or even just in the workforce and being moms that just, you don't have to be everything to everybody, but just do what you do well. And I don't know. I love that book. It's good. That's
cool. And I know Rachel has a podcast. I've listened to some of her stuff and I've seen some of her stuff on Instagram, and she's definitely a powerful female spirit that's just, really, and I know she comes from like a faith background.
Yes.
So, I don't know if that resonates to you, but I know it resonates to me, and it's just cool to see whether it's a male or a female, but people that have that faith foundation really, not necessarily preaching their faith, but really just living, like you said, trying to live that life in terms of the best version of themselves. And I think that can really, reach a lot of people, and I've really appreciated her work too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, cool. So next question, favorite quote, mantra, or word. And I kind of like to preface this, with, there's different quotes, mantras, and words that kind of come up during different seasons of life. So you can kind of take this, Kayla, however you want. It can be maybe during this, COVID season of life. It could be maybe from 10 years ago, but just any quote, mantra, word that you've really found impactful at some point in your life or even current day.
Yeah. Gosh, there's a lot of quotes going around, floating around. People wear t-shirts and, lots of signage at home and stuff. But one that I really like, I have on my wall right here, and my cousin and I, actually, it was the Hollis Company business conference we went to, but a ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships were built for. It's just, for me, something in my business and this season of my life, like you were just saying, we just moved to a new office and expanded to having 2 doctors in our office instead of 1, but it took a lot of risks to get to that point. And I think that I love that quote because, it's really easy to just be complacent and go through life, and it could be a really boring life, and it could be uninspirational and unmoving to you. But if you take risks that you think, if you don't ever take a risk in life, it could be a really boring life. So I love that.
You're preaching to the choir on that one.
Yeah. So I love that. And just always keeping that in mind. Like, I think every single day you have to have a vision for where you're going. Like, what do you want your life to look like at the end of your life? And if you never take like a risk, it's just not, I don't know, I'm not going to get to that place that I want to be at the end of my life.
Amen. Yeah.
So I love that one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I want to pull back a layer or two here because that is a very powerful quote, and I couldn't agree anymore with what you just said. But now, okay, so we're obviously recording this in Cherokee, Iowa, this is our hometown, right?
Sure.
And I was just in Colorado for like 2.5 years, in Colorado Springs, Denver, big cities. It's just a different vibe out there. And then I come back, to home, come back to Iowa, and it's just completely different. If you haven't been out and traveled or haven't lived in different places, especially like a bigger cities, like it's kind of hard to explain. So, but my point, or what I'm trying to I want to kind of pull out of you, Kayla, is you talk about like, not, staying the same and like kind of evolving and pursuing kind of like the uncomfortable sense of like, not living that boring life and pushing yourself and having goals and vision, which it's so good. I see so many people, especially like in small towns, and this is something that literally scares me, and I think this is why I have such a spirit of like wandering and exploring and moving to different places, and I don't really want to settle, is because I see so many people, especially in smaller towns where they do settle, and it's basically they work the 9 to 5, they pay their bills, they're a quote unquote good citizen, and that's kind of their life, you know what I mean? So for you, how have you been able to cultivate, this spirit within you of, setting goals, having vision, wanting to be an entrepreneur, not wanting to settle, wanting to really do great things, in this smaller town, which is your hometown? How have you been able to cultivate that? Because a lot of times I don't see that, not necessarily just here in Cherokee, but kind of in the Midwest and in the smaller community. So how have you been able to cultivate that and make that happen?
Oh, well, I think that just goes back to a lot of how you were raised and, what the people who brought you up taught you. And like my dad had a family business and they just like worked. They're just such hard workers. And my mom, of course, she works her tail off too. But my point with saying that is that I was taught like always to do your best. Like if you're going to go to work, every single day you need to do your best work. So always I've been a goal setter. Like I know you're going to talk about like some high school stuff and sports later, but I think, a lot of people can say that, sports don't matter. High school sports don't matter. Sports growing up don't matter. But those really taught me a lot about setting goals. And that literally means, I think, every single day having a goal in mind or whatever. But so all of that growing up, I think I don't know, I always had the goal setting mindset, and I've always been having a vision. Like I want to, I don't like to say dreams, because for me, dreams mean that like you don't have to work for it. So I think the hard work plays into the goal setting because you actually know how to work for it. I just think that you can set yourself apart from a lot of people by literally just by having a vision in mind. Because like you said, a lot of people don't have that. Like they're just complacently going through life, like you said, the 9 to 5. I don't really know where it came from, but I do think seeing my family work hard and going through high school sports and always having like a team like goal or a team, how you felt like you could, compete with anybody if you tried the hardest you could every day at practice. So a lot of coaches have inspired me over the years with that sort of thing. But going to college, I think, helps get that vision for the world. Like you've been, like you said, you've lived in big cities and some people haven't, but I do think it's so important for kids in small towns to maybe go.
Absolutely.
Like, go for a little bit, and then if you come back, it's because you want, I came back because my family's here.
Of course,
So I feel like I could have done this anywhere I went. Like a lot of people told me not to come back here because there were too many chiropractors here. But my husband and I were like, well, we want to live here, and I knew that I could be successful.
Absolutely.
If you just like I said, you can do so much more than the rest of the world, 80% of the people, if you have goals. And I tell my kids that all the time. All you have to do is try your hardest, and you're going to do better than most of the world. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm smiling because like the mom of you is coming out. I feel like I'm one of your kids right now. It's good. It's great. It's great. I love it. No, it's good.
But seriously, like if you try in life and you don't just wake up and like get through the day. That's a horrible attitude.
Absolutely.
I just want to get through the day. Like it's not about getting through the day. It's about how can you like live this day like your very best. Like how can you fit enough patients in, or see everybody who wants to be seen, or, my next goal is to take my family on a trip to Hawaii if I get to this certain goal. And so it's like, it gets you, every day can be pretty boring if you don't have something in mind to get you there.
100%, yeah.
So I don't know. I think that even if you live in a small town, actually there's a lot of opportunity because so many of the people, like you said, are doing what you said,
Mm-hmm.
which is working the 9 to 5. And so if you live in a small town and you're not like that, you're going to stand out like a sore thumb.
For sure.
And you can be super successful.
And you don't have to get tattoos on your hands or anything to stand out, right?
No, I love the tattoo life.
It's great. It's great. I know. I just, you know, I'm like the only one in my family. I think I completely altered my family history tree by getting tattoos, you know?
Really?
But I like it though, because it's me, right?
And
Just be
I love
crazy,
that.
kick over the apple cart.
Yeah.
Now, something I want to touch on before we move on to this last question of the conversational warm up. You know, you keep bringing up this word vision, and I literally, like, on my social media, I say for myself, like, I'm a visionary, because like I'm always, and I use the word dream, but like I'm a dreamer, I'm a visionary. I love to, like, you know, have goals and plan and like look in the future. I think it's so important, obviously, taking care of business today, because you can't get to tomorrow if you don't take care of today, right?
Yeah.
But how do you go about setting this vision or setting goals for yourself personally?
I think every day leads you to your next goal, you know? So the goals that I have for today, like 5 years ago when I was in my old office, in my old practice, were different than they are now. I started with a coaching group when I was coming out of chiropractic school, and, you know, we set a lot of goals, and sometimes I didn't love, you know, the way that they were promoting that goal or like getting you to that point.
Right.
So it was almost like I had to find my own way to get to my goals. And I guess the evolution of like your life definitely pushes you to different goals and to bigger goals. But I definitely think that, like, you know, taking a piece of what you know that you can accomplish is like huge. So starting small, I don't know, gets you to the bigger picture.
Of
like
course.
all these little bites in your goal. I mean, it's not, that's the thing. You can't set a goal like, I am going to go like something outlandish. I'm going to make $7 million this year.
Right.
Without doing the day in and day out little goals. Like the little goal of, okay, well, today I'm going to be kind to everybody, and I'm going to, everyone I see, I'm going to smile, and they're going to feel good around me. And then that leads to, okay, people want to come to your chiropractic office because you're kind and you're nice to them. And then those little goals, then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I can get away, like I made a way bigger goal than all those daily little goals.
Yeah.
So I think it's like the daily little goals that actually add up to something extravagant at the end.
100%.
So,
Now, but in order to, you know, have those little goals or meet those little goals each day, you've got to have a big goal, right? In the future, kind of like using that word that you like to use, and I like to use that vision.
Sure.
So how do you set, and maybe there's not really maybe you don't sit down and like meditate and like, you know, get in, you know, play the music or whatever, but and maybe it's just maybe more kind of natural to you, but is there a certain way that you kind of like get the big vision or the big goal, and then obviously you take the steps to get there? Is there a way that you kind of do that, or is it just kind of something that's maybe innate, natural, that it's just kind of there for you?
Yeah, I think that maybe every day it could change, but ultimately my big goal at the end is to have children who I have a close relationship with, who, you know, and a marriage that is healthy and thriving, and that I have a good balance in my life. I mean, my big goals are really like basic needs. And that's like, if you don't take care of business every single day and take care of every part of your life, if you work too much, or if you care about money too much, if you don't work enough, all of these things cannot be possible, right? So I guess at the end, my big goal is just to have a life where I have a good marriage and a good relationship with my kids. I have enough money to make a good life for them. And not to worry. But like, ultimately, those are my big goals. So
that's awesome.
To me, it's like, but you have to be balanced in your life to get there. Like, I can't not care about my marriage yet work my tail off at work so that I can make that 7 million, whatever your, whatever your outlandish goal is.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't nourish my marriage, then I'll be alone with my $7 million and kids who don't talk to me because I worked too much.
Yeah.
So it's about like making every part of my life balanced and good. I guess.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very well put, Kayla. Now, one more thing. Because, I mean, you're talking, and I think, obviously, like, we're from the same hometown, we're from a small town, like, generally speaking, kind of like that traditional, like, the family values, the hard work. When I'm living out in Colorado and I say I'm from Iowa, they say people from Iowa are nice and they're hardworking.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's, again, a general statement, but I'm like, probably overall, that's something good to be known for.
Yeah.
So I think, again, I'm speaking in generalizations here, but generally speaking, I think still in these small towns in the Midwest, the family values and core values and the hard work and kind of being a nice person, good person, that's there. So what I'm trying to get at too is usually in smaller towns in the Midwest, the Bible Belt, there's some sort of faith aspect. So was that something that you were maybe brought up in? Is that something that you still kind of lean upon or not necessarily?
Absolutely, yes. I grew up Catholic, and my mom, like my dad really didn't go to church with us, but and that's something that I think kind of bothered my mom, because she wanted to go to church as a family. But she consistently did take us to church, and I definitely had friends too, which helped, who were faithful as well. So like I'd spend the night and we'd like say our prayers before bed, even like no matter what, like that just like first of all that connected me to my friends in a way that I didn't know at the time was possible. But yes, my faith is like growing all the time.
Cool. Yeah,
it definitely, we pray every day with my kids, and like it just, I think faith is huge in like these outlandish goals that we talked about and you might set for yourself, but just to never fear anything. And a lot of times I leave, at the same time I'm trying to set my goals, I'm also leaving it up to God. So like I have a goal going on right now at this office. I wrote it down at the beginning of the year. It's in an envelope in my desk, and I know what it is, but at the same time, I'm not making rash decisions to make that goal happen. But a lot of times, I'm like doing little things to get to that goal, but I'm also at the same time praying about it all the time. So, and my prayer isn't that I get what I want, but it's that God does, that His truth is going to happen no matter what. And He is in control. And so I just like pray that I allow that His plan to happen. And maybe that means that He gives me the power to get up and do my morning routine the next day so that I can get to that goal. I don't know. But I definitely don't have fears about my goals because I know that God has a plan for what's going to happen anyway. And that is so easy to get through your day when you're not afraid of what's going to happen. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Faith
Awesome.
is awesome.
And I appreciate you kind of touching on some of those, finer details of just kind of like, how you're living your life. Because honestly, Kayla, like, my podcast is, I tell people when I reach out to them and invite them on, it's a platform for people to share their story so that those who listen will be positively impacted. And it's we can kind of keep everything on the surface level, but that's why I really like to, dig a little bit deeper and pull back some of those layers because, we all see each other, from the kind of the outside lens, unless we're, a family member or something like that, right? Or a really close friend. So, people that are listening, I love being able to dig a little bit deeper because this is kind of like, this is how Kayla ticks. This is kind of how you make it through each day and are able to be successful. So thank you for being open to share a little bit of those details.
Quentin, and I love the questions because I do think it's a piece of like the personal experience that I feel like we almost miss anymore.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And this is really cool.
Yeah.
I like your questions and I like this. You just don't get a personal you don't really get to let your story out very often.
No, you don't. And that's the thing, and thank you for that compliment, Kayla. But that's the thing is that, we're living, and I say this a lot because teaching kids in school and being around youth a lot and just being around adults, like we're not that far away from like, in terms of our age, you and myself, but like we're living in this social media age. And I say this all the time where we're connected more than ever in our world, but we're also more disconnected than ever in our world, and both of those are because of social media. Like my podcast wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Instagram. Instagram is my jam. I reach out to people, send them random DMs, all this stuff. That's how this whole thing started. But also it's like when I was teaching in a public school setting, or when I'm having conversations with younger people, like they don't even know how to make eye contact. Like I'm looking you in the face right now, and like when you're talking, I try to make that eye contact. That stuff, that is powerful, like human skills to have in terms of just connecting and interaction. Yes. But like kids, because and all of us are on our phones, but especially like this generation like us, we didn't have cell phones growing up and stuff, but they look down. If they don't have their phone, they're still looking down at the ground. If they have a phone, they're going to be on their phone, but they don't even know how to make that eye contact. Yeah. So we're really missing out, I feel like, as human beings in our evolution. We're really missing out on, some of those finer points in terms of like just really connecting with another human being. Because connecting with a human being through a screen is some sort of connection, but it's completely different when it's in person, right? 100%. And that's why I do these podcasts in person, because like I get to look at you, I get to feel your energy, and vice versa. And it's just a more powerful conversation and interaction, not only for us, myself and my guests, but also for the listeners, because I feel like they can really feel those vibes that are going on in terms of the in-person conversation. So let's wrap up kind of the conversational warm-up questions. The last one that I have for you, Kayla, is do you have a favorite or most listened to podcast? And if there's more than one, feel free to share. If you don't really listen to podcasts, maybe there's somebody on social media or just maybe some sort of mentor that you really appreciate their message.
Yeah. And we talked about the book of the Rachel Hollis.
Yes.
And I am gonna start to listen to more podcasts, because I do like when I'm doing dishes and stuff. Yep. And so I just recently started listening to the Jen Hatmaker.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I've only done a couple of hers, and they're about the Enneagram.
Yep.
That's fascinating.
Oh yeah, it is. Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, so I do listen to Rachel Hollis and like their morning show in the morning when I can, and just some of their Rise Together podcasts and stuff like that. But I think the podcasting is pretty powerful, and I love. Well, we live in Iowa, like you said, so it's a little bit behind, but
yeah.
I mean, I do find it super powerful to
for sure
see some of those personal development people and.
Yeah, and I can give you a list of some of those like personal development, personal growth people that are out there that have podcasts. Because like seriously, Kayla, like podcasting, like what I'm doing right now with you has changed my life. But just like how I continue my education in terms of fitness and personal development and growth and just the human experience, it literally most of the time it comes through podcasts, because I can be meal prepping, I can be driving, literally I can be, now I don't have kids, you might have to turn down the earbuds or whatever when the kids are around, but like literally almost anything you're doing, you can be doing something and also like educating yourself. So it's really powerful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah, I love a list.
Cool. All right. So let's we touched on a little bit of just the younger years in terms of kind of like, going to church and some sports you alluded to, but I again, just kind of want to dig in a little bit deeper. So, and I've already kind of said it, but that you grew up here in Cherokee, but kind of like share with myself and the 127 Fit podcast listeners, Kayla, kind of what was your childhood experience like here in Cherokee? Talk about, being involved in sports, siblings, kind of maybe the family dynamics. Did you grow up on a farm? Because I'm sure people that are listening to this outside of Iowa want to know, because like, oh, did you, I'm from Iowa, well, did you grow up on a farm? Like, not everybody grew up on a farm that lives in Iowa, but, maybe just touch on some of those details of childhood, and then you can touch on maybe high school a little bit.
Sure.
I've got a couple questions about high school for you, and then we'll move on to college and things like that.
Okay, well, I guess I grew up here, and my mom and my dad were both from the area. Mm-hmm. So both sets of my grandparents were here, and I think that did have a lot of influence in my life, because I saw my grandparents like every week for sure. Like when I was growing up, my one set of grandparents lived a block away, so
cool, yeah.
we literally just walked back and forth from house to house, and that like was just such a positive impact in my life, because you just had so many people around you that cared about you and loved you just like their own, that I don't know, that was just really super special for me. We just made a very strong connection that way, and I do think that's probably a reason why I came back to Cherokee.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I wanted my kids to have, and I've talked to you about this before, but having my kids have a childhood like we had here is like my goal, because I just loved growing up here. And I know that seems weird because a lot of people are like, oh, I was boring or whatever, but it's actually been very beautiful. And if you have family around, I mean, really, what else do you need?
Yeah, for sure.
There's so many things to do like that way. But so I have 2 sisters. I'm the oldest. And so we did lots of neighborhood stuff, I guess. I had a great group of kids growing up in my neighborhood. We'd stay out until my parents were like, you have to come in. You know?
Yep, same
and
here.
I loved that. You know, we rode bikes, did rollerblades, played basketball, just everything. You just played with everybody, and that was such a happy part of my life. And it was so safe to do that.
Of course, yeah.
You know, you just did that, and you're like, oh, they don't know. We don't know what house they're at, but they're at
Free range.
one of these 5 houses probably.
Yeah.
So you just kind of, went with it that way. And then my sisters they're both, like I said, younger than me. But we're super close now, and as you get older, of course, you get closer and closer. But I don't know. Let's see, what else should we talk about?
Did you grow up on a farm or not?
No.
Oh, okay, good.
I grew up in town, and I was, and that is so funny that everybody always.
Oh, they do. They're like, oh, you're from Iowa. You know, you grew up on a farm. I'm like, no. I said my mom did. I didn't. I grew up. I grew up in a town, small town. So let's talk about. What's something you mentioned your mom taking you to church and stuff, but and you mentioned earlier just that influence of your parents, and the same with my parents, like they really influenced us in terms of hard work and that work ethic, right? Yeah. Is there something else as you kind of maybe now that you're a mom and you have your family and everything, as you maybe have some time every once in a while to reflect on your childhood in terms of your parents, right? Because it sounds like they laid a great foundation for you, Kayla. Is there something outside of the couple things we've already talked about that you really look back and you're really fond of? Maybe something that your mom or your dad, regularly said to you, or just maybe something, that they taught you. Is there something that you can kind of think of in terms of that?
I think, like going back to that word consistency, I feel like they provided such consistency with their care and love for us, that you just truly felt safe, and every day you woke up and you knew that the next day they were going to love you and support you too. But like with sports and stuff like that, they were just always there. They did not miss a game. They cared about all of your goals and aspirations just as much. And I just feel like all the way growing up, they were like, you can do whatever you want to do. You just have to, do your best. Yeah. And I know it's like, it's almost like the modern, or, in the past, like all of this podcasting and social media and personal development that's going on now, it's almost like it was a version of that, really.
Of course, like,
set your goal. And my mom was always like, before the games, like, leaving me special notes and, just do your best. Like, we're so excited to watch you and blah, blah, blah. And those things totally powered me through. And I keep saying my mom, but my dad too, like was showing me hard work and always, always being there for me. I always remember, like, if we'd drive home from a family event, he would always reach to the back seat and be like, thank you guys for being good kids. I'm just so proud of you. And those reminders, or like, if you hear that from somebody all the time, you just believe that you are good.
Yeah, right.
And so they always were uplifting that way.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I love that about them, and I think that really did make me who I am, and like I said, try to make my kids have the childhood that I had, because I did. I felt like the love of my family, and that was always first for them. It was mostly we hung out with my cousins and my grandma and grandpas and my aunts and uncles. And I guess for me that now I still do that. I still hang out with my sisters the most and my cousins the most. And they're the ones who are always going to be there for you no matter what.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, sports. Let's talk about sports because I'm sure we had probably a lot of the same teachers, a lot of same coaches on some level. So, and you've brought up sports. You've mentioned that quite a bit. So just talk about like what sports did you play? Maybe like what was your favorite sport?
Okay.
Is there a coach that really had, you know, an impact on you? Maybe just touch on a couple of those things.
Yeah. I grew up playing all of the sports because that was the thing.
That's what we do, right?
Yeah. All of my friends did that. And that was our bonding experience though, you know, and it really does bond you in a way that's cool. So I played basketball, volleyball, softball, and then I ran track. And I think that my favorite growing up when I was young, in my younger years, was basketball just because we did the most with it, I think.
Yeah.
You know, we did the traveling team and we spent the most time with our friends doing that.
Yeah.
But as I grew up, like, and reflected back on, like, some of my high school experiences that way, I think I liked track more than I thought I did. Like, even though it was the hardest sport.
Of course, yeah.
I know you were a runner, too.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, at the time, you were like, oh, no, I don't want to run. I don't want to run. But then when I look back, I'm like, I'm so glad I put in that work because I had a lot of cool experiences with that. But, and in terms of coaches, like you said, we probably did have a lot of the same teachers / coaches.
Yep.
I think that there were a lot of inspirational coaches, and I think part of the reason I say track is Denny Taylor was my track coach, and he was so uplifting. And I mean, we set goals like no tomorrow with our shuttle hurdle team, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
But that personal attention that he was able to give to us, like 4 or 5 girls, was just so. It was just really cool. I learned a lot about goal setting there too.
Yeah.
But all of my coaches were good. Coach Hupke was so consistent and good, and you know, I mean, that's fun stuff.
I remember I never had Coach Hupke, but I remember I was like in, I think I was like in 7th and 8th grade, and I only lost once in the 1600 in 7th and 8th grade, so I was, you know, pretty decent runner. And I remember him, I don't know, like he at some point he like approached me and he's like I'm watching, you've got some talent or something. I was like, okay, I don't even know who this guy is, but he's somebody like in the high school or whatever. But now did Coach Jolly, was he obviously I know he was there, but he was the guys and then somebody else was the girls coach?
I wasn't really influenced much by him because he did stick most with the boys.
I love Coach Jolly.
But oh gosh, he's a little bit of an icon in Cherokee, right?
A little bit, yeah. We got like a hill named after him at the high school, you know.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
And I like Charity Anderson and
Julie
she's a
sweetheart. Oh yeah, both of them are good.
They were fresh out of like college, stuff like that. So they were really awesome too.
Yeah, they're cool ladies.
Coaches, and I hate to not mention anybody, but a lot of the parent coaches, like my, you know, the dads of my friends.
So for sure.
So good.
Yeah, no, it's you know, it's. I look back and I've done a lot of reflection too about like my childhood and growing up here in Cherokee, and you know, like it's just like. I couldn't have asked for a better childhood myself.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of things that you're saying in terms of like just the foundation your parents laid, and then obviously just a lot of great people within our school system here in the past, and so I just have a lot of gratitude and thankfulness for my upbringing too, and so it's kind of cool that we kind of are vibing on that level, right? Yeah. And because again, like just being around so many different kids that, you know, whether it's on an Indian reservation or in inner city Detroit where I lived, and even in like the public school, like I've seen firsthand, Kayla, the importance of the foundation that is laid in a child's life in terms of the adults that are raising them, right? Because, I mean, you can look at the prison system or the juvenile system, whatever, and, you know, the statistics, you know, in terms of, like, one-parent homes and all that type of stuff, like, in terms of incarceration and just trouble with the law, like, it's astronomical. You know what I mean? So it's just so important that we had that example in our lives of that family foundation, and it's cool to see that that's something that, you know, your parents instilled in you, and that's something that you're carrying on with your family, because again, like, you know, it's this generational thing. Because you see it again with people that are usually in trouble a lot. it's a generational thing. So it's cool
So how do
to
we
see that
break
you're
that,
carrying it
right?
on. How do we break it?
Well,
Are you asking me, or is it just like a rhetorical question?
No, well, no, I am like. So we were blessed with with parents and a family who already showed us that. So I feel like we had a leg up. And then, like you're saying, the kids who don't have that, how do they learn that? Like, it's maybe rhetorical. Maybe you have an answer. I don't know. But how do you help those kids start their own good tradition?
Yeah.
When they don't know when they don't.
I want you to answer that. What do you think?
I
mean, seriously, you have more life experience and being around your own kids and their friends. Like, what do you think?
Well, I mean,
that's a great question.
Yeah, I know. I think that would change the world if you could, influence those children. But I think this, the school system is a lot of the times where it starts when having good teachers to make them feel safe in that way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Getting them these sort of things where they hear other people and how they set goals and how they can basically try to be the best version of themselves. Like, everybody is given a different circumstance in life. And when you're kids, you don't really have a choice, like, in a lot of matters.
Correct, yeah.
But if they know that they can be a better, be better than what they're doing, or they can have a morning routine that puts them above, or they can set a goal and truly reach it. I don't know. But maybe this is a great avenue. Social media. I mean, like we talked about a little bit about the negativities, but maybe it's pretty inspiring if people can get a hold of some of the good podcasts.
100%. Yeah. So I just I'm going to quickly touch on this because I think that's a valid, powerful, great question that you just kind of brought up. And like, I obviously am usually pretty opinionated in a lot of things, but it's because I think about stuff like this. And again, I've worked with so many different kids in so many different situations. I'm passionate about the next generation. So my whole thing, like my hashtag, I'll say it on the outro here, is, be someone to follow. That's kind of like my mantra. And it's not like follow me on Instagram or add me as a friend on Facebook. It has nothing to do with that. I feel like as adults, whether I don't have any of my own kids, but I'm an adult, like I'm an example, right? You're an example to not only your kids, but your kids' friends and, kids that come in here and get adjusted by you, all that, right? So I feel like, in our culture, as adults, we need to understand the importance, not only of being someone to follow or being that leader or that example to our own kids, but also to maybe the young child that's next door that doesn't have a dad or doesn't have a mom or has parents, which we see this a lot in smaller towns, that are, on meth or on drugs or being neglected. Like, I think it's our responsibility as adults to realize that we have to pour in to the next generation. And, that's not only our own kids or our own family members, but it's youth in general, right? So it's like, how can Quentin, how can I be an example? How can I be a leader? How can I be someone to follow today? And I've got, kind of like my things, but it's like somebody's always watching us, whether that's an adult or a child. And even more so now in our society with the social media and all the camera phones and stuff, right? It's magnified. But like, I just think as a society, as adults, we need to realize like it's our responsibility to raise and to teach, to educate, to pour into the next generation. Absolutely. Because they are the next moms, they are the next dads, they are the next police officers, the chiropractors, the personal trainers, like they're next. So it's like, we're products of the adults in our family growing up, teachers, parents, coaches, what have you. And so I think it's just understanding like it's bigger than our own families.
Right.
It's bigger than our own families. And we as adults need to realize like we need to kind of get our eyes off of ourselves, talking about like us personally, our own families, and just be like, look around and say, what can I do for another child? Or what can I do for these kids? And kind of like just that mentality of giving back. That's,
I love that.
Short, kind of my perspective. But I want to stay focused on your story and keep kind of the conversation moving along here, Kayla. So let's talk about college, because I really want to finish our conversation really digging into the chiropractic side of things and what you're really passionate about. So where did you go, like undergraduate? And then let's just talk about kind of the evolution of you becoming a chiropractor.
Okay. I went to the University of Iowa for undergrad.
Okay.
And my major was athletic training.
Cool.
So then, because I was living the athletic training world, and kind of realizing that I knew I wanted to be a mom, and the hours of athletic trainers were just not feasible for that.
For sure.
So at that point, it was like you either go to physical therapy school after that, or you become a chiropractor, or you go on to a higher education bracket that will allow you to kind of have a life that you want. Once again, my vision for my life. So my vision for my life being that I wanted to be a mom and work and make a living for my family that allowed me to do things that we wanted to do. So I chose chiropractic, but I had always before that had like a passion for, like, it was either I was going to be a dietitian or go into some health field. I didn't know, but I definitely cared about what I was putting in my body and how my body functioned. I also had been to the chiropractor, you know, growing up a lot. One of my good friends from high school's dad was a chiropractor here in town, and you know, we went, especially after every sports season, just to get, you know, and it always helped me and my body function better. And I love anatomy, so, and it makes perfect sense, though, and we can get into this later with the chiropractic, but I always knew that, like, that was a better way. I never liked to take anything for pain, because I always had that mindset that you're just covering it up. So I chose to apply for chiropractic school, and I ended up going to Northwestern, which is in Minneapolis. So that's where, then I moved to Minneapolis and lived there for 3.5 years and did my chiropractic and my acupuncture degrees. And then I moved home after that. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so you mentioned, you know, getting like adjusted in terms of chiropractic work, you know, growing up because, you know, one of your friends' dad was a chiropractor here in town. So, you know, in terms of like, and I'm sure it probably goes back, you trace it back to kind of like the sports thing. But in terms of like you just like caring about like what you put in your body, not really wanting to take, you know, medication and different things like that, where do you think that interest in kind of the health, the wellness and all that kind of was sparked for you?
I really don't know. My mom asks that all the time. She's always like, not that we ate bad, we didn't, but like she always says, where did you come from? Like, in terms of the fact that I would never let my kids drink Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know, my family makes fun of me because they're like, oh, Kayla, we're putting hot dogs on the grill. And I'll be like, my kids don't eat hot dogs at my house.
That's awesome.
I know. Actually,
That's good. I like it.
What's funny is my husband went to the store the other week and he came home and my son just gave it to me because he's like, guess what, Mom? Go out to the fridge. Aren't you thirsty? Like in the garage fridge. And I'm like, no, I'm not. What? Turns out he had bought Diet, Pepsi, and Mountain Dew. And they were just like, they knew I was going to lose my mind. So they were just like,
that's awesome.
There has never been a Mountain Dew in my house before. So they were like, look at this.
That's
I'm gonna
funny.
have a Mountain Dew. But anyway, I just like, I try not to let my kids have that.
Yeah. That's good.
And it's
Smart.
just really hard in this world, though, because it's like everywhere. But I don't really know where it stemmed. I always felt that way. Like
that's cool. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that's cool, and it's just, you know, I know like for me it's just like, you know, being exposed to like, you know, the Victory Gym and kind of like all that stuff from such a young age, and then obviously playing sports.
Yeah.
That's kind of like where I trace it back to. But no, that's cool. Like it's always just kind of interesting to see like how did people get the way they are, right?
And I don't know, my personality too is that I'm a first child. I'm a rule follower, kind of.
Yeah.
So I remember somebody saying to me in high school, like, don't eat popcorn because like you can't get your full like lung capacity. And I like, for track season, I never ate popcorn or drank pop again.
That's awesome.
And once I stopped drinking, like, it's not that I drank a lot of pop. Well, one time my dentist told me when I was a kid, do you like pop? And they were cleaning my teeth and they're like, try not to drink pop because it can stain your teeth. Didn't drink pop for 7 years.
That's
like,
good.
Because somebody told me. I'm too much of a rule follower that way, probably.
Yeah. No, I mean,
anyway.
I don't drink pop or anything. I mean, it's just, we're not going to go there, but it's not healthy, that's for sure. But that's cool. Now, okay, so I guess that your interest in chiropractic, maybe, you know, there's, at least you had a familiarity with it in terms of being adjusted when you're a kid. And then you're kind of like going through like, hey, I want to be a mom. I don't want to do the athletic training thing because of the hours. So you're maybe just trying to figure out what would maybe be the best avenue for you in terms of long-term, just living the life you want, right? So what was the experience like for you then, Kayla, after you graduated from the University of Iowa? And actually you started kind of stepping into like, you know, the chiropractic schooling. What was that specific experience like?
I felt like I was in a really good place at that point because of my background in athletic training, and Iowa had prepared me so well for that. Like, a lot of my classmates were coming to chiropractic school with, a few of them hadn't even completed their bachelor's. They were going to complete it there. You could.
Oh, really?
There was this, Wow. But some of them came from like nursing backgrounds, but some of them just like a kinesiology degree in college or something like that. You know, it's like they were either going to go to med school or chiropractic school. So, but Iowa totally prepared me. Like, we had the most difficult anatomy courses. It was so, I spent an entire summer just doing that one course, and I felt like I knew so much more than some of the people who, I just felt like I had a leg up on it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was awesome. Yeah, I felt really good about it. And the like-minded people who, a lot of them were legacy chiropractors, you know, their parents were chiropractors, mine were not. So that was a little bit different. They had been living a chiropractic life more intensely than I. Even though I had been adjusted quite a bit of my life, it's different when your parents are a chiropractor.
Of course, yeah.
So for that, you know, that was a little bit different. I had to I had never had an experience running a business or whatever, but so that was all new. The running a business was brand new.
Yeah,
that
of course.
was total new goals and stuff like that. So I guess I felt in a good place when I moved to Minneapolis, and my understanding of what I already felt like I believed just like flew off the handle then, because that's what we lived and breathed, like how the body functions, you know, on its own. We're just supporting it with chiropractic.
Yeah. So it kind of just like, it clicked for you then. It was really pretty easy.
I knew I was where I needed to be, I guess.
And that's a good feeling in life.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned acupuncture. Was that like a part of the classes that you took? Was that something extra that you kind of tagged on? How did acupuncture come to be? And then before we kind of fully focus on just like the chiropractic side of things for the rest of the conversation, for the people that might not be familiar with acupuncture, what is it? So how did you get exposed to it? And why did you kind of like, you know, get the degree or the certification in it? And then what is it?
Sure. Okay. I really knew nothing about acupuncture, even into like probably a year and a half into my chiropractic. We had an acupuncture school at the same college that I went to for chiropractic, but I never, we didn't really cross paths. So it was an effort if you wanted to learn about that. So one of my friends, I had something going on personally that she was like, have you tried acupuncture? Why don't you go down to the clinic, you know, see if the students can work on you or whatever. And I was like, might as well. I'm here and I need to know about these things because patients are going to ask me. And I always had this idea that the more things I could bring back to Cherokee, the better, because it's going to, once again, set me apart from other people. So I was like, okay, I'll try it. You know, I was intimidated. Most people are. Everybody's intimidated by needles, you know? So I was totally like that, just like most of my patients are when they first try it. But so I went down to the clinic and they did their thing on me and it totally worked. You know, it just set my body, reset it, you know, and it was functioning better after that one treatment. So there was an option to do additional work. It wasn't a part of my chiropractic training. It's something that you had to do additionally. Okay. So there was probably like 25 of us out of my class of about 100 who did this extra chiropractic or acupuncture certification. So we would go on the weekends and then we'd do all day Saturday and most of the day Sunday in those things. And then we studied for boards, of course, and passed boards. But so it was like an additional certification thing. But acupuncture, did I touch on all of that? So
that's good. So I'm just kind of like what is it? Okay. Like you mentioned the needle thing.
Sure. But... Yeah. So acupuncture is obviously it's a foreign concept to us who live in the Western medicine world. But What it really is the idea that your body functions as one whole unit, right? Everything medically is probably because, you know, there are not just one thing dysfunctional in that. Like, so if you have arthritis in your hands, in acupuncture world, that's like having heat in your joints. So it's trying to take away that. So it's an energy movement thing. It can be very complicated or very simple if you think about it, but it's the whole yin and the yang.
Yeah,
you want energy to be flowing perfectly through your body with the same amount of speed to every organ, to every area. And if it gets clogged up or if it's not getting to an area, you can either have too much energy in an area or not enough, and that creates dysfunction because you don't have even blood flow, you don't have even energy, you don't have even flow through that area. So it moves energy. It's like, it's not magnetism. It's not positive, negative pulls, but the needles pull energy to and from areas that do and don't have enough. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It can be super complicated or super simple, but a lot of, in our office, we work with a lot of headaches and back pain, but acupuncture can be anything. Like, people who, and sometimes I say, the acupuncture we do here is so much focused on musculoskeletal pain because that's what people come here for. But if you have things like fertility or, deep-seated things, like maybe you can't sleep at night because whatever.
Yeah.
Acupuncture can help with those things too. It's crazy. It's really cool stuff. Now,
you mentioned needles. So, like, practically speaking, somebody comes in to get acupuncture done, just kind of quickly and simply, like you mentioned the needles earlier, and you said a lot of people don't like needles. So where are the needles going? Like, what are you doing with the needles?
Well, the needles are super thin. They're very fine, and they're going into energy points. Is what I'm going to say. So yes, they go through like your skin, your muscle, your fat tissue. But ultimately, they're trying to hit an energy point. And those points have been mapped out hundreds of thousands of years ago by other, much smarter people than me. But we have, we know where those points are and where we need to get into. So we're not necessarily just, people mostly think that I'm trying to hit your nerves. And I'm not. I'm not trying to hit your nerves. We're trying to hit energy points that are located within your muscle and fat tissue.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to spend the rest of our time, which we've already been going for 57 minutes. That's crazy. But I do really, because I grew up in town going to, a chiropractor. So I've had a lot of experience younger, but then also I've been to a lot of chiropractors in adulthood, right? So I've got some of my own questions. Had a lot of chiropractors on the podcast in the past. So in terms of, your education, all right, at Northwestern to be a chiropractor, how do you feel like you've evolved as a chiropractor from that education and kind of taken things maybe in a different direction because you've learned some different things, or do you feel like you've kind of stuck to what they've taught you, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I would say the foundation that you get in school, and I guess maybe I think of this as a global thing. Maybe not just chiropractic, but whatever you learn in school, you take their foundation and then you make it your own to some degree. So yes, I feel like I have evolved and I'm constantly evolving in that. I love to tell my patients that like everybody's body is different. Your
100%.
body, then the next guy, then the next 80-year-old, then the next 4-year-old that I see. So you have to kind of make it what that body needs. So my evolution in chiropractic is totally continuing. There's always new therapies, or like maybe this week, like cupping is like really working well for me. So it's like I'm constantly adding therapies, taking away therapies, changing what I like to make people's bodies just function better.
For sure.
And that's the intent, is just, to help their bodies function at their best. Yeah.
Now, so earlier you're kind of, when you're talking about like the acupuncture and stuff, you're kind of talking like this whole body thing. The term that popped up in my mind is kind of like the holistic approach, right?
Yeah.
So, the chiropractors that I've had on that are practicing out in Colorado, like that word is, I would call it like a buzzword out there, but I call myself a holistic personal trainer because I know there's a lot more to it than, this one area that has pain. I mean, you know, everything kind of starts with the gut, and then, you know, it's all over, right? So, so how do you kind of like approach? And I know because I'm one of your clients or patients, right? But how do you kind of approach when you have a new patient or a new client? What's your approach, Kayla, in terms of like getting to know their body, getting to know their pain, getting to know maybe some of their other issues, stresses, and things like that? Like, do you kind of try to take that holistic approach in your practice in terms of the chiropractic work?
Yes. And I think that the first time you meet that person, the questions you ask them tell you so much about what you're going to feel in terms of what their body's going to look like. It's like if you ask the right questions, you already really know when they lay on the table what similar traits they're going to have to other people who have similar traumas. Physical traumas, even emotional stuff. Like if I can sense that somebody's super stressed out in life, I already know that I'm going to have to treat them a certain way in terms of their adjustment as well. So holistically, it's like an adjustment is, you know, it's the kind of the lifeblood of our clinic, okay? Like that's what people want here.
Right.
But the way I try to set myself apart from other offices is to see the person as a whole. That's awesome that you said that, but it's not just about the adjustment or if I can make a popping sound in your back or not. It's about me treating you as a whole person. So the questions that I ask are going to lead me to know, do you need a referral to, I mean, is your gallbladder dysfunctional? Is like, you know, I have to be able to say, chiropractic isn't the only thing that you're going to need to make this happen.
Correct. You
need to sleep well. Are you drinking water? When's the last time you drank water? When's the last time that you exercised and moved your body? So helping people get to those places where they're just living, once again, being a better version of themselves, because I can adjust you and adjust you and adjust you and adjust you. But if you're doing nothing for yourself outside of my office, it's gonna be an uphill battle.
For sure.
So putting the mural on my wall outside that says "Feel better, live better" is just it's not just a chiropractic thing, but you have to do something every single day to make yourself feel better. Yeah.
And that mural is really cool.
Thank you.
I like it.
Thanks.
And you know, like obviously I you know have gotten adjusted by you many a times and we've had some different conversations, but I was going to a chiropractor in Cherokee County that my dad went to and stuff, and finally, because I know my body, and I know you know what I need and what I don't need and all this stuff, and I got tired of going to this gentleman just because I just wasn't feeling it in the sense of not the adjustment, but I wasn't vibing. I was like, this isn't for me. Yeah. So you know, I'm kind of exploring around chiropractors here in Cherokee and stuff. Yeah. This is like 4 years ago, and then I come and visit you, and it was a completely different experience. So I'm saying that to say that, like, you know, as people are listening to this and maybe, you know, want to come see you and get adjusted and things like that, I'm saying, you know, like I've gone through like your experience, and it is completely different, at least locally here in the Cherokee area, than anything else I've experienced. So that's awesome.
Thank
because
you.
I've had, you know, like again, out in Colorado, this holistic approach, it's kind of the way it is. I think it's the way it should be within health and fitness and all that, right? Whether it's chiropractic work, physical therapy, personal training. But you're doing it right, and I appreciate the way you do it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
for sure.
That's awesome.
Yep. Now, let's touch on for a couple minutes. You brought up cupping, and I think this is something because like 4 years ago when I was here and kind of scattered throughout some of my visits that I came back home, I don't think you were doing cupping, and now it seems like maybe this is something that you guys have added at least recently. So first of all, what is cupping, and then why do you feel like it's a modality or a tool that's important in your guys' practice now?
Yeah. So cupping is a therapy that uses, I mean, there's different styles of cups you can use, but basically it's like a little dome-shaped device that you put on, you kind of put on people's skin, suction cup the air out, and then make just a good suction, but then you drag it along the muscle so it breaks up any adhesions within the muscle, and it helps your muscle glide more smoothly. So when it contracts, it's contracting in a healthy way rather than having like gritty, sandy innards of the muscle. Anyway, it breaks up the muscle, it brings blood flow to the area. It really helps even the adjustment for us because it will decrease the tension and the pull on the bone that it's attached to. And it's super effective and it doesn't take very long. So that's why we like to use it here. I attribute my acupuncture certificate for teaching me the cupping. So I've always known how to do cupping, but I used to do, some of the Graston sort of muscle scraping. That's pretty aggressive, and it can be effective too. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I discredit that therapy. I like it, but for some reason, my evolution of my care we talked about before, started trying a little cupping, and just got such a good result from it. And like I said, it's effective. It's 4 or 5 minute long treatment. And people get such a good result from it. So it's something that we add often. I mean, several times a day we do that therapy.
Yeah.
And it's very effective. And it's low risk too. It's only beneficial really.
And so is this something then that you guys have added fairly recently in the practice? Because I don't remember it at all like 4 years ago.
Sure. Like I said, when I went to acupuncture school, we learned about it.
Okay.
I've always had the cupping tools in my office. Okay. But I started with that scraping stuff, and then I'm like, I don't know. I just one day was like, let's do a little bit more cupping, and it just was a good choice.
Cool.
And we just went with it, and it's really
been
a good addition to our treatments. Yeah.
Okay, now something I want you to touch on just for a minute here, Kayla. You've mentioned in terms of the cupping, you mentioned blood flow when you were talking about some of the other things. You mentioned blood flow. Why is blood flow or getting your blood to flow better?
Sure.
Why is that so important in terms of just overall health for us human beings?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. It could go so far, but blood flow is our life force essentially.
Right.
It carries all the oxygen and nutrients to every part of our body. So getting blood flow to areas that are too tense or whatever brings oxygen and healing and lets that heal, basically. But when in your profession, in personal training and exercise and that sort of thing, if we move our body and move our blood flow all around our body and nourish our heart, of course you're going to function better in all ways. Moving blood is like health. So a microcosm of it, like the cupping brings it to a small area. Exercise and moving your body is obviously very important, and it brings it everywhere to your body, everywhere. Yeah.
Now you mentioned earlier, talking to people about how much water are you drinking? So we also know water is life too. Water is very important, but in terms of the overall health and maybe tying things together in terms of the blood flow and all that, why is drinking water so important in terms of that overall health and trying to be your best version of yourself?
Dehydration I think can be the biggest. It could be the easiest way to make yourself more healthful. Right, for sure. So it's free, pretty much. I mean, you can get water anywhere, right? But every single tissue in your body is made up of water. There's water in it. So in terms of chiropractic, your discs in between your bones are 80% water. So the second you're dehydrated, your body's going to suck water out of anything it can, including your discs, which means you're going to get arthritis in your spine if you're not hydrated. So from my perspective, there it is. But I want those cushions to stay thick and healthy forever, so that you don't get disc herniations and arthritis in your back and all that. But think of when a plant is wilting and dying, and you give it a glass of water. I mean, it perks up right away. It's just the same with your body. I mean, the fatigue that you can have with being dehydrated, There are some people who literally go days without drinking water.
I know.
And it's just caffeine.
My dad's one of them.
It's crazy. Think of how much more they can function if they just drink. So half your body weight in ounces, that's the goal.
Yeah. And I think
exercising more.
Yeah, and I think too, like with the water, something else important that I usually touch on with people is like just the flushing out the toxins, right? Because especially like you mentioned, the drinking soda and pop and all these sugary things and all these processed foods that most people are ingesting and poisoning themselves with. Water at least helps kind of keep things moving. It helps with the digestion and flushing toxins out. So I think that's something else just to mention too.
Yes, so that's awesome, and that is very important.
Cool. Okay. Now let's. I'm just gonna ask you straight up why. Because I've talked to honestly a lot of people, Kayla, that they've never seen a chiropractor, right?
Sure, yeah.
And they have their own issues or reasons or whatever, and it blows my mind. But if you have, and you have this platform right now on this podcast to kind of share with people, why do you feel that it's necessary for people, maybe not every week, but on a regular basis to get chiropractic work done?
Chiropractic, it's an avenue that helps your body function at its best. So we're not claiming that it does the work, but your body does the work. Your body knows how, it innately knows how to function. But if you have nerve interference at the spinal level, that is going to turn off sections of your brain sending messages to your body. So you want to have your electrical system all powered on. You don't want any wire to be pinched off. I use that term very, broadly. It's not, pinched off, but you don't want anything to be shut down.
Right.
You don't want the nerve to your stomach, the nerve to your esophagus, the nerve to your sleep centers to be interfered with in any way. So your spinal adjustments help you function better in every single way that your body can function. Making sure that there's no pressure on your nervous system is huge to being your best, being once again the best version of yourself. So, and that being adjusted regularly, like you said, is something that it is a lifestyle thing, because you're gonna go golfing, which is a super one-sided activity. You're gonna go lift, and maybe you injure your bicep tomorrow. You're gonna go help your parents move, and it's maybe your low back's gonna get tweaked. These are things that you're gonna do your whole life. You're gonna move all the time,
right?
And we're never gonna be able to live in a bubble where you're gonna move perfectly symmetrical in every way.
Of course,
if you're gonna be a human who moves and lives well, you're gonna need to be adjusted on a regular basis, because that is the best way to live your life, is to be functioning in a bilateral way, like all together as one unit. And all the activities that we do, and most of us do a one-sided activity all the time. Like for me, I stand on the left side of my table and look down to the right all day. So if I didn't get adjusted all the time, I would have a huge issue in my neck, upper back. It's just a thing that it's not a one and done sort of activity if you really want chiropractic to be like a helpful thing in your life. I don't know if that answers your question.
That's great, and I love that you said it's a lifestyle. It's not necessarily to fix anything, but it's just to maybe prevent.
Yeah.
And it's really just to kind of just like people don't understand, like people spend so much money keeping their vehicles tuned up, right? They get the oil change and tires rotated and like all this stuff. I'm like, you've got one body.
I love that.
Take care of your body. Like that's way more important than your Dodge pickup or Ford or Chevy or whatever you're driving. Like, and a chiropractic, just like personal training, just like physical therapy, all of these things are ways that we can tune up our body so that we can live the healthiest, best, most exciting life possible, right?
Yeah, our bodies are, they're housing our spirit or mind or whatever.
Right.
We get to have one. We don't know when our life is going to be over. But while we're here, we want to nourish the vehicle that we're living our body, our life in. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up here, Kayla. Before we do though, before I ask you the last question, and you had brought this up, I think, kind of in the early part of our conversation, but we're sitting today, recording in this beautiful building. You guys have expanded. The practice is growing. Like you said, you added another chiropractor, and you got some different assistants around. The building's beautiful. It's an awesome place. What is, and again, kind of going back to that vision, that goal, and you don't have to necessarily get into like the numbers or whatever, but like what do you want Ludvigson Chiropractic to be, 5-10 years down the road in terms of just like what you're providing in Cherokee and Cherokee County and maybe even Northwest Iowa?
Yeah, I love that question. And it's been a part of my end goal always. But I want to be a health clinic that is respected by all of the different health practitioners in our area. That's always been a goal for me. I want to be a referral source for, people who are going to the medical clinic who have an issue that they know I can help. I want to be respected by, all of the healthcare providers, and I want this clinic to be a well-rounded health clinic. So chiropractic is part of that, but maybe it's other therapies that we bring in, other practitioners who do different things than
Absolutely.
I do. So just continuing on the progressive mindset of holistic health here. Maybe that means a nutritionist. Maybe that means deeper massage therapy avenues. Maybe that means other practitioners who are holistic minded. I don't know, but we have space here that we're going to fill. And I want to be revolutionary in how health works.
Yeah.
Like this is, this first, and then if we need to send you on, there are times when we do, but
of course.
we want to start here and, whatever that means, but we want to fill this space with people who are like-minded.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how something like this is needed in smaller towns in the Midwest.
Right.
Like when you live in Colorado, you've got the holistic everything. The doctors and the chiropractors and the physical therapy. Like it's like on every corner. And then, but people, when I'm trying to explain, like, no, literally, like if I want to go to a natural grocers, which they're originally from Colorado, they're everywhere. It's like a natural food store. I'm like, literally, in my hometown in Iowa, I have to drive to Des Moines, Iowa, which is 3 hours away to go to a natural grocers.
Yeah.
Like, like they don't even get it, like how good they have it out there.
Yeah.
So that's something that we just, like that, when you're talking about being revolutionary, like that's something that is desperately needed in terms of health and wellness and longevity and all that. It's desperately needed in these smaller communities in the Midwest.
Yeah,
absolutely. So that's a beautiful vision. So one other quick thing, because like I know your mom and dad, your family upbringing was very important to you. You're really trying to carry on that legacy with your own family. And I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of ladies that are listening that have their own kids. Maybe they're trying to start a business adventure or what have you. What, in terms of this balance, you talked about earlier, Kayla, about balancing, kind of like trying to balance everything to be your best self, right? What's something that motherhood has taught you that you maybe feel like you wouldn't have learned if it wasn't for being a mom and having kids?
Oh yeah, motherhood teaches me something new every single day. And they are, they're teaching me, patience. The importance of their basic needs, but really, like we talked about before, like the basic needs of children, like to be loved and to be cared for, but that carries through your whole life. Like you need to some degree care about everybody that you come in contact with. So, but grace and humility, they teach me, they teach me my flaws and how to overcome and be a better mom to every day. They tell you what they need from you in ways that they don't even know they're doing. So every day, learning to my greatest joy is when they eat good food and they sleep well and they play well together. But that's not always a thing, and I love having the deeper conversations with them as they get older about like being a good person to everybody, and the experiences they're having at school, we've been through those already, so we get to share with them things about being a good friend, and that's really a lot of times, when we send them out the door to go to school, I always say, okay, be a good friend today. And just every single day they come home with new issues and new problems. And it's like such a joy to like help them get through those things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Last question that I have for you, Kayla. What sets your soul on fire?
Oh, man. I think the setting goals sets my soul on fire. I know that you're like this too, but we've talked about it before, but I just think that every single day waking up with a mission, and then all those little missions, all those small little days that seem like they don't matter add up to a really good life. So my soul on fire is setting goals.
I love it. It's good. Before I kind of do my outro, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Kayla, if they want to find out more about your practice here in Cherokee and kind of everything that you guys are up to. Where can people find out more about you, find out more about the chiropractic practice and anything else you might want to share? Okay,
my physical location is 213 North 2nd Street in Cherokee, Iowa. We have a Facebook page that's Ludvigson Chiropractic, and we have an email list that goes out. We just started creating email content, and I love that avenue as well. So
smart.
But you know what? I've always wanted to be an Instagrammer, and I can learn lots from you, Quentin, because I'm not good at it. But I want to be an Instagrammer.
I can teach you.
Okay.
I can teach you.
I want to be an Instagrammer so bad. So we're likely going to expand our social media following that way, but a lot of it is Facebook and email right now, and our website is ludvigsoncchiro.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Really quick, because it's even hard for me to pronounce your last name, so spell that so people are like, what is that even? I don't even know what that is. So just spell that so they know they can find all that stuff.
Okay. Ludvigson Chiropractic. It's Ludvigson.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, and so Kayla, I just want to thank you for just taking time out of your full schedule. Just to share your story, share some insights from your life experiences on the chiropractic world, and it's awesome. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. But thank you so much for just being open and being willing to share today on the 127 Fit podcast.
I love this avenue. You're doing such a good job, Quentin. I love it. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Fun.
Yep. And now I'm gonna finish this up and get adjusted, to get cupped, and all the good things, and get out of here, get my day going. But so 127 Fit podcast listeners, once again, I just want to thank you so very much for your listening ears. They're always greatly appreciated. If you would like to find out more about myself or the guests that I'm bringing on to the 127 Fit podcast, you can find all of that information on my social medias. Instagram is at 127Fit. Facebook is at Quentin Vars. LinkedIn is at Quentin Vars. If you guys would do me a huge favor and please leave a 5-star rating and review, and also subscribe to the podcast, that would be greatly appreciated, especially within the iTunes Apple Podcast app. That's just how more people find the podcast, and more people are able to be positively impacted, which is what the name of the game is for the 127 podcast. Something I just want to let you guys know. I've recently become an Iron Rebel ambassador. So Iron Rebel has training attire and gear in terms of lifting weights and powerlifting, bodybuilding, stuff like that. So if you guys would like to get 10% off on any of the training attire or gear, just go to ironrebel.com and you can put in the code VARCE10. That's all capital letters, VARCE 10. And I'll be here in Cherokee, Iowa throughout the summer. So if you guys are looking for some personal training, group training, sport training in terms of a child, or maybe you're a college athlete and you call Cherokee your hometown, youth training, and I can also do with all the COVID stuff that's going on. I'm also open to doing virtual training through like a Zoom call. So if you need to lose some weight, maybe for a wedding, if you want to just be ready for the football season or basketball season, if you're an athlete, maybe you've got some kids because the baseball season's been canceled here locally in Cherokee, and you just want your kids to be healthier and get some organized activity. Any of that hits home for you, please reach out to me. You can just send me an email. The email is 127fit@gmail.com. I can let you know the pricing. I'll let you know my certifications and all of those good things. If you think you would be a great guest, or if you have a friend or an acquaintance you think would be a great guest or guest for the 127 Fit podcast, you can also send me an email or give this email out. Just give me a little background on yourself, why you think you'd be a great guest, or maybe let me know about a friend and then I can reach out to them. That email again is 127fit@gmail.com. And as you guys are finding great value in a specific episode or episodes of the 127 Fit podcast, one other favor I would ask of you guys is that you would take that specific episode or episodes that you're finding that value in and share it on your Facebook and Instagram stories using the hashtag #BeSomeoneToFollow. And per the usual, I will leave you with Proverbs 24:10, which states, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." This time, until next time, I will catch you guys later.